It's strange how life can feel so stable for years, like you're walking on solid ground, and then, in a single night, it all crumbles beneath your feet. I've been married for 10 years. 10 long, quiet, ordinary years. Or at least that's what I thought. I met Dee when I was 24. She worked at the same office, just 2 cubicles away. I was the quiet guy, the one who always showed up early and left late. She was the type who could make the whole room lighter just by walking in. Everyone loved her, especially me. Back then, I never believed in love at first sight. I thought it was something people said in movies, but never experienced in real life. But when she smiled at me for the first time, that easy, open smile, I swear something inside me changed. I still remember the first thing she said to me. "You always look like you're carrying the world on your shoulders, eh?" And maybe I was. My dad had died a year before. My mom was struggling, and I felt like the only way to keep things from falling apart was to hold everything myself. But that smile, it was like a small light in a dark room. We started talking more, grabbing coffee after work, sharing stories that felt too personal too soon. Within months, we were inseparable. Within a year, we were married. Everyone said we were perfect together. I believed it too. Our first few years were beautiful in their simplicity. No luxury, no drama, just us. We'd cook cheap dinners together, watch TV on the couch, and talk about the future like it was something we were building brick by brick. We dreamed about kids, a house with a garden, and maybe one day, a small cabin near the lake. And somehow, piece by piece, those dreams came true. We bought a modest house. 2 years later, our first child was born, a boy. 2 years after that, a girl. I thought I had it all. Every morning, I'd wake up before everyone else, make coffee, and just watch them sleep. It felt like peace. It felt like purpose. It felt like home. But looking back now, I can't help but wonder, maybe that peace wasn't real. Maybe it was just a lie I was living inside, too comfortable to question it. Things started to change around our 9th year. Subtly at first, she started working longer hours, taking more girls' nights, spending more time on her phone. I didn't want to be the paranoid husband, so I told myself it was fine. She deserved her own space. She worked hard, she was tired, she needed time with her friends, but then small things began to pile up. The way she'd angle her phone away when I walked. By the sudden laughter at midnight while texting someone. The new perfume she said her coworker recommended, though I never saw her wear it to work before. And then one night, she came home late, past midnight, and said she was helping a friend with something personal. I nodded. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. But her eyes told a different story. For weeks, I tried to shake the feeling. I threw myself into work, into being a dad, into anything that could distract me from that gnawing suspicion. But once doubt plants itself in your mind, it grows fast. It becomes roots. It becomes poison. So one night after she fell asleep, I did something I never thought I'd do. I looked at her phone. Her password had changed. That alone told me everything I didn't want to know. I stared at her phone on the nightstand. For what felt like forever, it was 2:13 a.m. She was asleep beside me, peaceful, soft breathing, her hand resting against my shoulder as if everything was perfectly normal. But inside me, everything was breaking. I didn't even know what I was looking for. Proof? Closure? Or maybe I was just looking for a reason to stop feeling crazy. I tried the old password, our wedding anniversary. Wrong, then our son's birthday. Wrong again. Then, out of some pathetic hope, I tried I loved you. It used to be that once. Wrong. Put the phone down and stared at the ceiling. My heart was racing. The house was silent except for the hum of the heater and her quiet breathing. And that's when the thought hit me. If she changed her password, she's hiding something. The next morning, she woke up cheerful. She kissed me on the cheek, made coffee, packed the kids' lunches like nothing had happened. I studied her, the way she smiled, the way she hummed while making toast. How can someone look so innocent while hiding a different life? "Hey," she said, catching me staring. "What?" "Nothing," I lied. "Just thinking about work." She smiled. "You think too much." If only she knew. That day, I couldn't focus at work. Every email, every meeting blurred together. All I could see was her face when she said, "You think too much." Maybe I did. Or maybe I didn't think enough. When I came home that evening, she was already there. Dinner was ready. The kids were laughing. She looked like the woman I married again. Radiant, warm, mine. And for a few hours, I convinced myself I was imagining things. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe she was faithful. Maybe love just looks different after 10 years. But then, as I was cleaning up after dinner, I noticed her phone buzzing on the counter. The screen lit up. A message preview flashed for half a second. "Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you." And then it vanished. I froze. For a few seconds, I couldn't even breathe. It was like my brain refused to process what my eyes had just seen. I looked at her across the room. She was helping our daughter with homework, laughing like she hadn't just received a text that shattered my entire world. I didn't say anything that night. Couldn't. I didn't have proof yet. Just a fragment of a message. But that fragment was enough to destroy my peace. When she went to bed, I sat in the dark living room for hours, staring at the glow of the TV that I wasn't even watching. At some point, I whispered to myself, "It's happening," because deep down, I already knew. The next few days felt unreal. She acted normal, almost too normal. Suddenly, she was affectionate again, asking about my day, touching my arm at dinner, sending me sweet texts out of nowhere. Maybe she was trying to cover her tracks. Maybe she felt guilty. Or maybe she just wanted to keep me blind. But once you've seen that first crack, you start noticing every other one, like the way she'd forget to tell me she had plans, or the way she suddenly started locking her phone whenever she left the room. So I did something I'm not proud of. I installed a small tracking app on her phone when she was in the shower. I told myself it was for peace of mind. But honestly, I just wanted to know the truth. The next evening, she said she was going to meet her friend Elle for dinner. I smiled and said, "Have fun." Then, after she left, I opened the tracking app. She wasn't at the restaurant. She wasn't even in town. The dot on the map blinked in a neighborhood 20 minutes away, near the river. My heart pounded so hard I thought I'd pass out. I sat there, staring at the screen, watching that blinking dot stay still for an hour, 2 hours, 3, and then it moved, back toward home. When she came in, her hair was a little messy. She smelled like that same new perfume. "Dinner ran late," she said, yawning. "You know how Elle talks." I nodded. She didn't notice the tremor in my hands. That night, I didn't sleep. The next day, I left work early, drove to the address from the night before, and parked down the street. It was a quiet neighborhood. Big trees, old houses, a blue car in the driveway I didn't recognize. I waited. After about an hour, she arrived, and in her car. She got out, looked around, then knocked on the door. A man opened it. She smiled. That same smile she used to give me years ago. And then she walked inside. No hesitation, no guilt, just gone. I sat there for almost 2 hours, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. When she finally came out, it was dark. She looked relaxed, almost glowing. I drove home before she did. When she arrived, I pretended to be half asleep on the couch. She kissed me on the forehead. "Hey, sorry I'm late," she whispered. "Work thing." I didn't answer, because in that moment I realized something terrifying. The woman I loved didn't exist anymore. She was just a memory wearing her face. The next few days after that felt like living inside a movie I didn't remember auditioning for. I'd wake up, make breakfast, pack the kids' lunches, kiss her goodbye, all while pretending I didn't know, pretending I wasn't dying inside, pretending everything was normal. Every time she said, "I love you," it cut deeper, because now those words sounded empty, rehearsed, hollow. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. Even the kids noticed. My son asked one night, "Dad, why do you look sad lately?" I didn't have an answer, because how do you tell a child that the world he knows, the home he trusts, is built on lies? One afternoon while she was at work, I decided to look again. I knew it was wrong, but the truth had already become an obsession. Her laptop was on the kitchen counter. She'd left it open, unlocked. My hands were shaking as I sat down. There it was, the email tab, dozens of messages, some marked as unread, others archived, and then one subject line froze me. "You left your sweater here, and I still can't stop thinking about last night." It was from an address I didn't recognize. I clicked it. What I saw made my stomach drop. Photos, messages, weeks of conversations. It wasn't just one night. It wasn't a mistake. It was a full-blown affair. They had inside jokes, nicknames, plans. She told him things she used to tell me. She said things like, "I feel more alive with you than I ever did with him, and he'd never understand us." I don't remember closing the laptop. I just remember the silence, the kind of silence that screams louder than anything. I went into the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and for a moment, I didn't recognize the man staring back. He looked older, colder, broken. That night, I didn't confront her, not yet. I needed to think. I needed to know why. But how do you prepare to ask the person you love why they destroyed you? The next morning, she acted like nothing had changed. She kissed me on the cheek. She packed lunches. She laughed. I wanted to scream, to ask, "How can you do this and still look me in the eyes?" But I said nothing until that night. She was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. The kids were asleep. The house was quiet. I sat down across from her. My voice was calm, too calm. "Who is he?" I asked. She froze, didn't even blink. "What are you talking about?" "You know what I'm talking about." For a moment, the mask cracked. Then she smiled, a nervous, trembling smile. "You're being paranoid again, Dee." "No," I said. "I'm not. I saw the messages, the pictures." Her face went pale. The silence that followed felt like it lasted forever. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just sat there, eyes down, twisting her wedding ring. "Finally," she whispered, "it wasn't supposed to happen." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was the only thing left to do. "You've been lying to me for months, or maybe years, and it wasn't supposed to happen?" She covered her face with her hands. I think she started to cry, but I didn't care anymore. Something inside me had already died. "Who is he?" I asked again. "It doesn't matter," she said. "It does to me." She looked up, her eyes red, and whispered his name, a name I recognized, someone we both knew, someone who had been to our house, someone I called friend. That was the moment my world stopped. I felt the room spin. My hands went numb. Everything, every birthday, every family photo, every "I love you" turned to dust in an instant. "You have to believe me," she said. I didn't mean for it to go this far, but it did, I said, and then I walked out. Not because I wanted to, but because if I stayed another second, I would have broken something I couldn't fix. I drove without direction that night. The streets blurred together. I ended up by the lake, the one where we used to go when we were happy. I sat there for hours, watching the reflection of the moon in the water, and thought about everything we used to be. And I realized, the life I thought I had never really existed, it was all built on a lie. When I got home, it was 4 a.m. She was was asleep on the couch, clutching one of the kids' blankets. There were tear stains on her face. I stood there watching her, feeling absolutely nothing. No anger, no sadness, just emptiness. The kind that consumes everything. And that's when I knew. No matter what she said, no matter how much she cried, something inside us was gone forever. The morning after the confrontation, everything felt wrong. The air itself was heavy. Every sound, the kettle, the kid's footsteps, her voice, grated against my nerves like static. She acted like nothing had happened. Like last night was just another argument that could be swept under the rug. She smiled. She made pancakes. She even asked if I wanted extra syrup. I couldn't look at her. It's strange how someone's face can become foreign overnight. The same features, the same voice, but the person behind them is gone. Our daughter ran up to me holding her drawing. "Daddy, look! It's our family." 4 stick figures. Me, her brother, and M, all holding hands under a big yellow sun. And just like that, I turned away before she could see the tears. That day, I didn't go to work. I just drove, nowhere in particular. Past the school, past the supermarket, past the life I thought I built. I parked by the lake again, the same spot. And I realized I wasn't just mourning her betrayal. I was mourning the death of us. The death of everything I thought was real. When I got home, she was waiting. Eyes red, hands trembling. "Can we talk?" she said softly. I didn't want to, but I nodded anyway. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where we celebrated birthdays, ate dinners, planned vacations. Now, it felt like a battlefield. "I don't know how to explain it," she said. "Then don't," I answered. She flinched. "Please, Dee, I made a mistake." "A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill," I said. "Not sleeping with someone for months." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "It wasn't like that. I was lonely. You were always working, and so that's it?" I interrupted. "I worked to give us a life, to give you everything, and your response was to destroy it?" Her voice cracked. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I leaned back and stared at her. "But you did. And the worst part? You didn't stop. You kept going until I found out," she sobbed quietly. And for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The next few weeks were a blur. We didn't sleep in the same bed. We barely spoke. Except for the kids, the house became a place of ghosts, of memories that refused to leave. At night, I'd sit in the living room after everyone was asleep, staring at nothing. Some nights I cried. Others, I just sat there numb. People talk about heartbreak like it's a single moment. It's not. It's 1,000 small moments. Every time you remember something good, and it hurts. One evening, after putting the kids to bed, she came into the living room. She looked fragile, tired, hollow. "We can try counseling," she said. "For the kids. Counseling won't fix what's already dead," I said. "Please, I'll do anything." "Then tell me the truth. All of it. Every detail." She hesitated. "It won't change anything. Maybe not. But at least I'll know what I'm hating." So she told me. All of it. Every lie. Every secret meeting. Every time she said she was working late. I listened in silence. Each word felt like a knife, but I didn't stop her because I needed to kill whatever hope was left inside me. When she finished, I just said, "Thank you for confirming what I already knew." And then I walked out again. A few days later, she moved into the guest room. We told the kids that Mom and Dad need some space. They didn't understand. How could they? Our son stopped talking much. Our daughter started having nightmares. And every time I looked at them, I hated her a little more. Not just for what she did to me, but for what she did to them. One night, I overheard her crying in the guest room. It wasn't the quiet kind. It was the kind that comes from deep inside. Raw, ugly, desperate. For a moment, I wanted to go in to comfort her. Old instincts die hard. But then I remembered the messages, the photos, the lies. And I stayed where I was because that version of me, the one who cared, didn't exist anymore. A week later, I got a call from a lawyer. Not mine, hers. That's when I realized she wasn't just sorry. She was preparing for war. The call from her lawyer changed everything. Until that moment, part of me still believed we might fix this somehow. That maybe, beneath all the pain, we could at least remain civil. But that phone call shattered the last illusion I had. The lawyer's voice was polite, rehearsed, and completely emotionless. "Mrs. M has decided to proceed with legal separation. We'd like to discuss the terms of custody and property division. Property division. Custody." The words hit like punches. I sat in silence, gripping the phone so hard I thought it might crack. She wasn't just leaving me. She was preparing to take everything. That night, I confronted her again. "You already talked to a lawyer?" She didn't look up from her tea. "I had to, Dee. We can't keep living like this. You could have told me first. Would it have changed anything?" I wanted to yell, to throw something, to shake her and make her understand what she'd done. Not just to me, but to our kids. But I didn't. Instead, I just said, "You really think you'll win custody?" She looked at me with eyes I didn't recognize anymore. "I'm their mother." I laughed bitterly. "You're also the reason their family is falling apart." She flinched, but she didn't deny it. The weeks that followed were chaos. Meetings with lawyers.emails.paperwork. Every document felt like a piece of our life being dissected and labeled house, savings, custody, visitation. Our love story had turned into a spreadsheet. The court process was brutal. Every hearing felt like another wound. Her lawyer painted her as the devoted mother trapped in a loveless marriage. Mine tried to defend me as the stable, responsible father. But none of that mattered because when the judge looked at us, all they saw was 2 broken people trying to prove who deserved less blame. When the final ruling came, it felt like someone had ripped the ground from under me. She got the house. She got primary custody. I got visitation rights every other weekend, like some guest in my own children's lives. Sat there in the courtroom, staring at the papers. hours, feeling nothing. I'd already cried. Everything I had, there was nothing left. She avoided my eyes when she walked past. Me, I could smell that same perfume, the same one she wore. When she came home late, moving out was surreal. 10 years of life, reduced to boxes and silence. The kids didn't understand why I wasn't coming home every night. My son asked, "Is it because you and Mom are mad at each other?" I didn't know what to say. My daughter cried when I left. She clung to my shirt, whispering, "Don't go, Daddy," and I had to peel her hands off me. That moment will haunt me forever. I moved into my friend's apartment, a small place with one bedroom and a couch that smelled like beer and old pizza. He tried to cheer me up, but nothing worked. The silence at night was unbearable. I kept checking my phone, expecting her to text. She never did. The first weekend I had the kids, I tried to make everything perfect. Pancakes, cartoons, games, but even they seemed different, more distant, like they didn't know how to exist between two worlds. One night, after dropping them off, I sat in my car outside the old house. Her car was there, his car too. I don't even know how long I sat there, staring, breathing, breaking. At one point I saw the living room light turn off, and something inside me snapped. I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I was empty, like everything inside me had been scraped out, leaving only echoes of who I used to be. The next morning, I packed a bag and drove. No destination, no plan, just the road and the thought. What am I supposed to do now? I drove for hours, through towns, forests, empty highways, until I found myself at a rest stop somewhere miles from home. I sat there watching the sunrise, and for the first time in months, I felt something. Not hope exactly, but the faintest spark of peace. Maybe this was it. Maybe this was the beginning of something new. Or maybe it was just another quiet before the next storm. It's been 6 months since the divorce was finalized. 6 months of waking up alone. 6 months of trying to figure out who I am without her. 6 months of pretending that I'm fine when everyone asks how I'm doing. I moved to a small apartment downtown. It's quiet, too quiet sometimes. The walls are thin, the rent is high, but it's mine. I've learned to live with the silence. At first it felt like torture, but now it's just normal, peaceful, in a strange way. I see the kids every other weekend. We go to the park, the movies, sometimes just sit and eat pizza while they tell me about school. Every goodbye still hurts, but it doesn't break me like before. I'm learning to breathe again, or at least I thought I was. It happened on a Friday evening. I was home doing laundry when my phone buzzed, a number I hadn't seen in months. I stared at the screen. Her name. My chest tightened. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, but my thumb moved on its own. "Hey," the message read. "Can we talk?" 3 words. That's all it took to pull me right back into the chaos I thought I'd escaped. I didn't reply at first. I put my phone down, paced around the apartment, tried to convince myself not to respond. But curiosity, or maybe weakness, won. "About what?" I typed. She replied almost instantly. "The kids. And us." Us. That word hit me harder than I expected. We agreed to meet at a small cafe near the lake, the same one we used to go to years ago. I almost didn't go, but part of me needed closure, even if I told myself I already had it. When I got there, she was already sitting by the window. Same hair, same perfume, same smile, but she looked different somehow. Tired, smaller. "Hi," she said quietly. "Hi." The silence that followed was thick. Then she spoke. "I didn't expect you to come." "Then why ask?" She smiled sadly. "Because I hoped you would." We talked about the kids first. School, sports, their friends. Then the conversation drifted. "You look better," she said. "You too," I lied. She laughed softly. "I'm trying, you know." "To do what?" "To fix my life." I didn't say anything, because part of me wanted to believe her, and part of me knew better. After a long pause, she said it. "I miss you." I looked at her, searching for sincerity. "You miss me? Or the version of me who didn't know the truth?" She blinked. "Both. That was the problem. She missed what we used to be, not what we are. You made your choice," I said, "and you burned every bridge we had." Tears filled her eyes. "I know, I just thought, maybe we could start over." I almost laughed. "Start over? You destroyed the foundation. There's nothing left to rebuild." She reached for my hand. I pulled away. "I'm not the same person anymore, Em." She nodded slowly. "Neither am I." But I didn't believe her. That night, after we said goodbye, she texted again. "It felt good seeing you." I didn't reply, but I didn't delete the message either. Over the next few weeks, she kept reaching out. Small things at first. Pictures of the kids, questions about school schedules. Then came longer messages. Then voice notes. I kept telling myself I was responding for the kids' sake. But late at night, when I found myself listening to her voice messages over and over, I knew that wasn't true. One night she called. I shouldn't have answered, but I did. "I can't sleep," she said softly. "Everything feels empty without you." I didn't know what to say. I wanted to hang up, but my chest ached hearing her voice. "You shouldn't call me," I said finally. "I know. I just wanted to hear you." Silence, then she whispered, "I made a mistake, Dee. The biggest one of my life." I closed my eyes. "You made a choice, not a mistake." She started crying, and just like before, I felt that pull, that instinct to comfort her. Even after everything, that night I didn't sleep. I kept replaying her words in my head. Was she sincere or just lonely? By morning, I decided it didn't matter. I couldn't go back, but I also couldn't pretend she never existed. She was part of me, the part that broke and the part that still remembered how to love. A week later, I saw her again. Not planned. It just happened. I was dropping off the kids and she invited me in. Just for a minute. The house looked the same, but it didn't feel like home anymore. Her pictures still hung on the walls, but everything felt staged. Like a museum of a life that was gone. She made coffee. We talked like old friends who didn't know how to stop talking. And then, for a moment, she looked at me the way she used to. That same softness, that same warmth. And I realized I was in danger again. Because love doesn't die cleanly. It fades, it rots, it lingers, like smoke after a fire. For a few weeks, things felt strangely familiar, almost like the early days. Quiet conversations, shared jokes, that unspoken rhythm that used to come so naturally between us. We weren't together, not really, but we weren't strangers anymore either. Somewhere in between, the most dangerous place of all. When she'd text, I'd answer. When she called, I picked up. And when the kids saw us laughing again, they smiled in a way I hadn't seen in months. It was easy to convince myself I was doing it for them. That's what I told everyone, that we were co-parenting better. But deep down, I knew. I wasn't doing it for the kids. I was doing it because I missed the idea of her, the memory of what we used to be. One night after dinner with the kids, she asked if I could stay for a bit, just to talk, she said. I should have said no, but I didn't. We sat in the living room, the same couch where we used to fall asleep watching movies. The kids had gone to bed. The house was quiet. She looked at me for a long time before speaking. You know, I never stopped loving you. I almost laughed. You had a strange way of showing it. She nodded. I know. I ruined everything. I hate myself for it. Then, why does it still feel like I'm the only one carrying the pain? She didn't answer. She just started crying, and I did the one thing I promised myself I'd never do again. I held her. It started with comfort. Then it became something else, something familiar, something dangerous. When I left that night, I sat in my car for an hour, staring at my shaking hands. I had crossed a line. I told myself it was closure, that it meant nothing, but I knew that was a lie, because the moment I touched her, every scar I'd spent months healing reopened. The next morning, she texted, I didn't expect that to happen. Neither did I. Do you regret it? I didn't know what to say. Finally, I typed, yes, and then I stared at the word for a long time before deleting it. Instead, I sent, I don't know. She replied with a heart emoji, and that was the beginning of our second downfall. Weeks passed. We kept telling ourselves it was just about the kids, but soon, we were seeing each other more often, texting late at night, falling back into habits that once felt like home. I was torn between guilt and comfort, between logic and longing. Every time I looked at her, I saw two versions, the woman who destroyed me and the one I still loved. Then, one evening, something felt off. She was distracted, nervous. I could tell something was wrong. Is everything okay? I asked. Yeah, she said too quickly. But I knew that tone. It was the same tone she used when she lied before. What is it, Em? It's nothing. Don't do this again. She sighed, rubbed her eyes, then whispered, there's something I need to tell you. My stomach sank. What now? It's about the kids. The air left my lungs. What about them? I don't know how to say this. Then just say it. She looked up, tears in her eyes. D, there's a chance they might not be yours. The room spun. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard her. What did you just say? Please, just listen. No, say it again. There's a chance they might not be yours. I stood there, frozen. Every sound disappeared. The ticking clock, the hum of the heater, even her voice. All I could hear was my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. You're telling me after 10 years, after everything, you don't even know if our kids are mine? She sobbed. It was only once. I swear it was only once with him. But the timing, I couldn't breathe. I felt like the floor gave way beneath me. You should have told me the moment you found out. I was scared. You think I wasn't? You think I didn't spend months trying to piece my life together after what you did? And now this? She tried to reach for me. I stepped back. Don't. The silence that followed was the loudest I've ever heard. I walked out without another word, got in my car, drove until the city lights disappeared. I ended up at the same lake again, the one where everything always seems to end, the same reflection of the moon, the same cold wind. But this time I wasn't angry, I wasn't sad, I was nothing, completely empty. At dawn, I drove to a pharmacy and bought 2 DNA tests. Kits, don't one for each child. I didn't know if I wanted the truth, but I couldn't live with another. The envelopes came 3 days later. 2 small white packages, identical, harmless looking, like they didn't have the power to destroy a man's life. I stared at them on the kitchen table for hours. My hands wouldn't move. My heart kept whispering, don't open them. You've lost enough, but curiosity is cruel. So I tore them open. 2 pieces of paper, 2 verdicts, and with one glance, my world ended again. Neither child was mine, not one. The words blurred as I read them over and over. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. I laughed, a short, broken sound that didn't belong in a human throat. I laughed until the sound turned into a scream. Everything I'd lived for, the nights awake with fevers, the birthdays, the school plays, none of it belonged to me. They weren't mine. They never had been. And yet, they were all I had ever loved. That night, night I went to her house. She opened the door, eyes swollen, terrified. She knew. You got the results? I did. Dee, please let me explain. Explain what? Which part? The betrayal or the lie that lasted a decade? She collapsed against the doorframe, sobbing. I didn't know for sure. I hoped they were yours. Hope isn't honesty. I was afraid you'd leave if you knew. And you think this hurts less? She covered her face. I wanted to hate her, but hate needs strength, and I had none left. I walked into the living room. Photos lined the walls. Me, her, the kids, smiling. A fake history. I took one frame down and stared at it. Our first Christmas. My son, her son, wearing the sweater I bought him. I placed the photo back, gently, because even if the truth killed me, the lie was still beautiful. We sat in silence for a long time. Finally, she whispered, "What are you going to do?" I didn't answer at first because I didn't know. Leave? Fight? Disappear? Every option felt meaningless. I'm going to protect them, I said at last, even if they're not mine. Because someone has to. Her eyes widened. You don't have to do that. Yes, I do, because you won't. Weeks passed in a fog. The court knew nothing yet. I kept the results secret. I couldn't bear to ruin the kids' world. They deserved peace, even if it was built on lies. When I picked them up for visits, they ran into my arms shouting, "Dad!" And every time it broke me a little more. But I smiled anyway, because that's what fathers do, even the ones who aren't fathers by blood. One night, Em called again. "I can't live with this guilt," she said. "Then don't. Tell them the truth. They're too young. No, you just don't want to lose them." Silence. Then, "I wish you could forgive me. Forgiveness isn't what you need. It's consequences." I hung up. Months blurred together. Work, visits, sleep, repeat. Life became mechanical. Sometimes, I'd catch myself looking at strangers, men with kids, and wondering if they knew how lucky they were. If they knew what it meant to really be a father. I envied them, but I also pitied them, because they still believed love could be enough. A year passed. The pain dulled, but never disappeared. Then one afternoon, I got a letter in the mail, no return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a handwritten note. "He's gone. The man you hate. Car accident, I thought you should know. No name, no signature, but I didn't need one." I sat down, the paper shaking in my hand, and for the first time in a long time, I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no revenge, just silence. That night, I drove to the lake one last time. The same moon, the same water, but something felt different. Maybe it was me. I realized I'd spent years drowning in pain that wasn't mine to carry anymore, and somewhere inside, a quiet truth whispered, "You can let go now." A full year has passed since that night at the lake. The apartment is quieter now. No photographs on the walls, no reminders of what used to be. Just white space and a few boxes I never bothered to unpack. I wake up before dawn, make coffee, and sit by the window. Most mornings, I don't think about her anymore. Most. Sometimes the memories come like faint echoes, soft, distant, almost harmless. Then I see the curve of my daughter's smile, the way my son tilts his head when he thinks, and the ache returns. They're growing fast. I still see them every other weekend. We play, we laugh, we pretend. They don't know. Not yet. I promised myself I'd wait until they were older, old enough to understand that love is more than blood. Last week, I got a letter in the mail, handwritten, childish handwriting on the envelope for Dad. The moment I saw it, my throat closed. Inside was a folded sheet of paper with a drawing of the three of us standing under the sun. Stick figures again, like years ago. And beneath it, in uneven letters, "Thank you for never leaving. You're my hero. Love." I stared at it until the ink blurred. Then I laughed, quiet, broken, grateful, because no test in the world could erase what I felt in that moment. That night, I took the letter to the lake. The moon was high, the water calm. I sat on the same bench where everything had ended and unfolded the paper again. I thought about telling them someday, about truth and pain and forgiveness. But maybe, not yet. Maybe love in its purest form is sometimes a lie we choose to keep for someone else's peace. I lit a candle, set it by the water, and whispered into the dark, "I forgive you." And I forgive myself too. The wind carried the flame sideways, then out across the surface. For a second, the whole lake glowed. Then it faded, leaving only the reflection of the moon and me alone, but finally calm.